Gerrard! Hello! Here we go! Costa, Keegan, 1-0. Still Barnes. That's a fabulous individual goal. Corner taken quickly, Origi!
Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Way podcast. After a vitally important, albeit less than impressive win at St Mary's against Southampton, that saw the Reds open up an 8-point gap at the top of the table. I'm Dave Usher, editor at liverpoolway.co.uk, and I'm joined for this one by Paul Natton and Stu Montagu. Alright then, Paul, we'll start with you. Ups and downs, not how we expected the game to go, but got the job done in the end, I suppose.
Yeah, it's kind of the way I'm looking at it, to be honest, mate. I mean, I think, I don't know, always a little bit where he's too strong a word, but you never really know what to expect after we come back from a break of any sort, really. And it just feels like the players are just a little bit mentally out of a rhythm. You know, they've been in a Liverpool mindset and they've gone off to an international mindset and then they come back again. I think they had a fair few days on the training ground. But it always seems to affect us to one degree or another.
I was going to say that. Were you not expecting maybe a bit better because we had the extra day? Because
I mean, to be honest, I mean, I probably was. But I mean, I think in retrospect, it's just kind of like it's a pretty normal, sort of slightly off it return from an international break performance, really. I thought Cara really overstated the narrative of the game. I thought, there's points in the first half and the second where he was talking about Southampton causing Liverpool all kinds of problems, and I just didn't see that, to be honest. I thought there were odd moments where they looked half decent, but it was more about us, about our sloppiness, about our maybe complacency, maybe even cockiness, really, at times today. But I thought, when it came down to it, we did exactly what we needed to do, or rather, our main man did. I thought Mo was he's just fucking ridiculous, like the way he's an absolute guarantee of goals, really, this season. I saw a stat to say he's been involved in 67% of all our goals this season.
Yeah. Which
is just outrageous. He's an absolute guarantee, really, when he gets in front of goal. He just makes things happen. I mean, to be honest, you always want a performance and you never want to see Liverpool being sloppy, but I thought it was overstated how sloppy we were. Yeah, we weren't great, but I didn't think we were absolutely horrendous. And really, given that the results of the City result and the crisis, because it is a crisis that they're in, it was all about just getting the 3 points and opening that gap up to eight points. And like I was just saying just before we started recording there, that league table is just fucking amazing to look at this stage. 12 games, 8 points clear. We've got a goal difference is more than three times City's in second place. You can't take anything for granted next week, but they are in crisis. They come to Anfield and lose, and it will be bouncing next Sunday. It's looking very, very, very strong. I mean, it looks as a very strong position right now, but it just kind of seems bizarre to be thinking, we've moved on from one of the key legendary figures in the history of the club, and for my money, our greatest ever manager, and to be doing this, to be in this position, is just a bit mind-boggling, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make comments about deficiencies of other teams and situations that other clubs are in, but I mean, bottom line is 31 points from 12 games, won 10, drawn 1, lost 1, goal difference plus 16. It's amazing, really, absolutely amazing. And there's no, there's no sort of caveats anymore in terms of who you've played. We've played some decent sides, but when you get into a run of this length, it's irrelevant, really, who you played and who you haven't played. To win 10 out of 12 games is just sensational, really. So yeah, I'm really pleased after the game with where things are at. There were things I didn't want to see, and there's things that he'd want to put right, and I certainly think there's things before Wednesday that I want him to be looking at. But overall, I'm more than happy with what we've done today.
Yeah, the table, it is amazing looking at it, like that big cushion that we've got there. Like you often see, like Slot's referenced it a few times, and Klopp always used to as well. When you're playing a team like Southampton today, they'll always talk them up and say, you know, we've done the analysis, we've watched the games, and you know they've probably played better than the league position shows, and they should have more points based on the performances and stuff. I almost feel we're kind of the opposite to some degree. I feel like it's not always looked great, but we've just got the points anyway. You know, we're just a machine. We're just finding ways to we'll win it this way today. Next week, okay, it's not going great, but we'll find a different way to win it, and we've been doing that. And today was what I will say is, if we had not have won that today, I'd have gone fucking nuclear, because you cannot. You cannot fail to win that game against them. You've got to be.
That would have been a fair response, I think, if that had happened.
Because of you know, they did everything to hand us that game. You know, basically our goals were mostly just because of them, just doing mad things. We've not really done it ourselves. So I wouldn't say that's one we've got out of jail, because you know we were definitely the better team, comfortably the better team, dominated most of the game.
Yeah.
But we've not given up loads of chances. But I think you touched on it when you said about complacency bordering on cockiness. To me, that was typified by like Southampton's first goal. Like I don't know what Virgil's doing. You can't be doing that. But we'll get to the goals in a bit. Stu, what have you got to say about it?
I think it's a bullet dodged, and in hindsight now after the game, it's probably a good thing. You know, we've had a little bit of a warning. We've had a sloppy performance. Still come out of it with 3 points. It's not a bad way to. It's not a bad way to go into the City game. It's not a bad way to go into December. Obviously, it gives you a little bit of a kick up the arse. I think there's, like you're saying, you can sometimes get into. You can go overboard. Once the goal goes in, you can go overboard and think. Be convinced, as Paul's saying. I think Carragher. It's hard watching our games when he's on them, because I feel like he has to do the job for Sky, where you have to make a story out of it, and Liverpool are struggling, Southampton are great. Neither of those things were true, really. It was more just sloppy moments where it was really poor defensively, which gifted them a goal and then puts a totally different slant on the game. They weren't really in it that much. They were doing okay. I mean, we'll probably get into it later on with the conversation of like how they play and whether that makes sense to do that.
We'll definitely get into that.
Yeah, we will. But what I'm saying is, we're top, they're bottom. They're in the game. Do you know what I mean? They're giving us chances with bits of sloppiness, but they're also keeping it a bit better than other teams might do. So we're not getting it back off them. Whatever you might say, they're doing all right and giving us a chance every 10 minutes. And we're not quite taking it. You know, before we score, Salah gets a chance, Gakpo gets a chance. We're getting moments, but they're in it. They're in it without being amazing. They're in the game. They're not capitulating, and we're third gear. And third gear is fine against them. If you get the opening goal and then you just keep it boring, that's fine. But third gear isn't fine if you're then going to make stupid decisions and give the ball away and gift them really bad goals, you know, really, really bad goals. I don't think any of the back four, they've been amazing all year. None of the back four have had a good game today. They've all had big moments where they were awful. For me, Virgil and Robbo on the first, dreadful. Canate and Bradley on the second, awful. Just where we just felt like, in a way that we haven't much this year, it all felt out of shape and like we were chasing round, trying to be reactive, running to the wrong fire, if you know what I mean. Like we were just, it was not good. Whereas over the course of the season, it's been the control that's been great. It's felt like we've very rarely, when the game's in the balance, I think I've mentioned before, when the game is in the balance, like drawing or 1-0, we have not given up any XG this year. We've not given up chances. We're excellent. Usually, like when it's 2 or 3, that's when we give stuff up. But yeah, it was sloppy and it was poor. And I don't think there aren't that many players that can say they had a good game today. I think you're probably looking at Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and Salah that can really say they've done the business. And even then,
agree with that.
Yeah. Salah is still because that's what he does. Up until the goals, he's also another one who's having a bit of an iffy game. But then Mo Salah, like, me and Paul always talk about, Mo Salah can look at you and just go, yeah, but I eventually turned up. I got in, I got the goal. That's what I do. So if he does little bits that are sloppy or whatever, or he misses a couple of chances, he'll keep going, and eventually he gets you the goal. However he does it, he'll get 4 or 5 chances in a game and he gets you the goal, and takes the penalty well as well. But I think they're probably the only 3 that can look at it and go, I've had a good game today. Would you lads disagree? Do you think anyone else is putting their hand up and saying they've had a good game?
I thought Cody was decent until he got
first
hooked.
half.
Sorry, Gakpo. I didn't mention Gakpo. Yeah, he was.
I thought it was unfair that he went, really, but yeah, the 3 you mentioned, Stu, were exactly the 3 that were in the forefront of my mind, really. Yeah,
Gakpo getting hooked was crazy, wasn't it?
I thought so.
I don't know what that was.
No, I thought in the first half he was excellent. Second half, he was starting to do me head in with them floaty crosses to the back post. The keeper was just coming and getting them, but he played overall. He played well. I think he had like a decent game, but yeah, most of the others struggled, I thought. But first goal, then it's a lot's being put on the keeper there, and he's partly to blame. Don't get me wrong, the keeper is partly to blame for that, but I feel like Downs is getting away with murder. When they're focusing on the goalkeeper, why is he rolling it out to the midfielder? Well, yeah, but the midfielder then plays the ball back, and they've still
takes
got
about
possession.
8 touches.
Yeah, but he keeps possession, and then he plays it back, and then so Downs gets the ball, and when you look at it, the pass out to the left wing back's on.
Yeah,
he's got to just chip it out to the left, and that's on. Or if you're thinking not going to do that, you can just play it out to play. You can just knock it out for a throw.
Just knock it behind.
The one
knock
thing
it out,
you do not do is what he did. That was absolutely pathetic from him. And the goalkeeper seems to be bearing the brunt of it, but you can argue whether he should have rolled it out or not, but that didn't lead to the goal. That fucking diabolical clearance straight to
clearly
Dom.
like one of Brownie's under 10s.
It was terrible. It was terrible. And then it's a lovely finish. Just curled it in. You know what that finish was? That was the inside training videos when you watch them with the shooting practice. Yeah. And you see them all doing that. Like, they're just bending them in and they're going in off the post all the time. And like Harvey had about 5 of them in training this week, what they're showing. Now, we don't know the ones that they're not showing where they're going like 20 yards over the bar or whatever. But the finish that he done there, it was just what you see them doing in training. Just like take a little touch, edge of the box, and then like just bend it in off the far post. So, yeah, really nice finish from Dom, and about time.
Uncharacteristically cool-headed, I thought, in a Liverpool shirt from Dom, that finish.
Yeah, it's good pressing from Curtis as well, to be fair. That kind of leads to it as well.
I mean, what? Just quickly jump in on that. What the fuck was the Sky director playing at, like, in the middle of that? Sloppy as fuck.
Hate that.
Yeah,
so bad. But
what was the replay they were showing? It was the tame shot from Brad.
Yeah.
It was a little tame shot that the keeper saved
ball's in
easily.
Play.
Yeah, he's had a Western there. Like,
don't some broadcasters do like screen? I'm sure I've heard that where you're watching the replay, but you've also got the game going on. Like, why couldn't they not? Why have Sky not jumped on that already?
I know. You think they would do?
Good shout.
Because we didn't even see the goal. We just seen the ball hitting the post and going in, didn't we?
Didn't even know it hit it.
No, didn't know it hit it. I was just hoping. Oh, is it down? Is it down? Oh no, it's
fucking wasn't, was it?
I mean, I'd like to think you're joking, but you're not joking, are you? That's exactly what you were thinking.
So we go a goal up. Up until then, not really that. We were on top. Not much was going on. They'd had a few moments. We were generally bossing it. I did put in the chat, we're scoring in the next 5 minutes. You could feel it was coming. We'd had like 2 or 3 shots. There was Dom had a shot, Cody had a shot. The keeper's relatively comfortable saves where he's got down and saved them. But you could just feel like, okay, we've settled here. There's a little bit of momentum building. You can smell it. The goal's coming, and it did come. And then we just didn't build on it at all. It's just, I mean, did anything really happen between us taking the lead and then the goal that we give away? Did we really do anything? Was there any chances between then? I'm struggling to think of any.
I can't think of any. I just felt like
I wasn't really talking to you, Paul, because if I can't remember, you fucking certainly can't.
Fair, that's fair. I mean, I think my sense of that whole period really was the tempo was just a bit lackadaisical, really. And I know that's kind of like, we've talked, haven't we, about the kind of like an adjustment of mindset in terms of how we play. But I thought it had kind of like, it went beyond control into, as we touched on earlier, a bit of cockiness, really, a bit kind of like, a bit too cool for school, yeah. And that's my only sense of that period, really. I don't remember any chances.
Because Konate did something just before Virgil made the mistake of the goal. Konate had done something really sloppy as well, hadn't he?
Yeah, there was a poor challenge, wasn't there? And and he got booked as well, didn't he? And this propensity he has for putting his hands on players as he's tackling them.
Yeah, I've got that in my notes. I have actually got notes, believe it or not. Not many, but that's something I have written down. He needs to stop putting his hands on people.
And he does, doesn't he? He does. It's just needless risk.
Because like the one we'll talk about, that one then, the Armstrong one. It's not a penalty for me at all, but
no, it's a dive.
Yeah, it is. But technically, he puts his hand on his back, he gives him a little shove, and Armstrong's waiting for that. He slows down, waiting for him to come into him, and then as soon as that happens, he dives. So it's not a penalty, it's a dive. But I do think if the referee sees that as a penalty and gives it, I don't think VAR overturns it. I think the decision would stand. And
because of the hands on.
Yeah, and it's unnecessary. Like there was one, he did one a few weeks ago as well, where again, it's not a penalty, but he did have a hand on the back on someone when like they were in front of him, and it just feels like he's taking unnecessary chances, because he did it again in the first half as well. He was all over the place in the first half, and like I think Carragher mentions it in commentary, you know, sometimes you got these games when you come back from an international break, and he said, you know, sometimes there'll be players in your team and you can see the head's just not there, and that's what he looked like in the first half. Second half he didn't really have hardly anything to do, so he wasn't really in it much, but I did feel in the first half, if Jarell Quansah was playing and put in that performance, he'd have been hooked at half time.
Yeah, I think that's...
And I would have been seriously thinking about bringing Joe Gomez on at half time for Konate, just because of how sloppy he was. He picked up the yellow card. I can't even remember what the yellow card was for. Was it?
It was for the push. Yeah, it's for one of those ones where Bradley got the same, didn't he? Where ball comes in and they've just sort of cleaned the man out. But the ref was being pretty. He had quite a low bar, didn't he, for a yellow card today?
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say,
from when Adam Lallana.
I mean,
to stay on the pitch.
I said at the time, I'm amazed that wasn't. We're going back to this thing where referees are. The whole thing is about just a no drama day. So if no one comes screaming and shouting about that tackle,
which no one did,
because it's Adam Lallana, so no one does. And to be honest, even when he did it, I was like, oh, you don't really want Lallana getting sent off, because we fucking love him. He's good, you know, he's a big part of our story and whatever. Yeah. But it's a bad tackle. Honestly, it's that is a leg breaker more than most tackles that you get a red card for. And I think Roy Keane's right when Roy Keane was saying he's got away with murder there. He has sort of got away with one quite badly, and it's the same when we put the ball out for him. We probably don't put the ball out for someone else, do we? But yeah, I thought pretty much all day the ref had a quite a low bar for what was a booking. But we'll say though, whilst we're talking about the idea that, like, if you think that the Konate and Bradley challenges are silly and you shouldn't be giving away, you know, you don't need to give that foul away. Saw a bit of criticism for Dom on the second goal. There's people saying drag him down. There's no need to. There's players behind him. It's another one of those cheap, silly fouls if he does it. In hindsight, you're going,
he's not last man or anything, is he?
Yeah, he's not last man. In hindsight, you're going, oh, well, it was a goal. Like, yeah, it's 3 lads behind him. Like, he doesn't... For me, that's the same thing as Konate did, which is, just pull him down. You don't need to pull him down. Just run with him down the line. But yeah, like you say, Konate was all over the show, really, in the first half. And I was joking a bit, saying, you know, put up the bat signal for Joe Gomez at half time. I don't think I would have done that, because I'd rather have a chat with Konate and go sort your head out. But there's an argument that, like you're saying, that was no better than what Jarrell got hooked for earlier in the season, was it?
Well, I'd say it was considerably worse.
Yeah, you could argue.
Quansah wasn't making like glaring mistakes. He just wasn't winning the battles against the lap, was he? That was the main issue, was like, get someone on who's going to win that physical battle. But
and that's not an easy battle either. Let's be honest.
No, he's a good player.
Delap is a handful. Yeah,
he's a really good player. Whether Ipswich stay up or go down, he's going to be playing probably for a top half team next year because he can play, that lad.
Yeah, Hutchinson as well. Is it? He's definitely staying in the Premier League next year.
What's the score in that game, by the way? Because I've not been watching it.
It's still 1-1.
It was 1-1 at half time, I think, and Ipswich was the better side.
Nice goal, that.
So we saw about Canate and his ropey first half, and I think he gave the ball away. There was something he did, and it was like, oh my God, that's like so sloppy. And then it was about a minute later, and Virgil just goes walkabout with the ball, which is fine if there's the space and you're carrying the ball forward and that. We've seen that a lot with like centre-backs when they do that. And then I think Carragher sums it up like perfectly when he said he is not doing that next week against Man City. He would not even think about doing that next week. And that's where like the complacency comes in. It's like you're doing something like that, and I'm sure it's subconscious rather than conscious, and it's like it's Southampton, bottom of the league, we're well on top, this game's easy, I'm just going to do a little back earlier, and you can't do that. And then Robbo, not great again. Should we be concerned about this? I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned. No, but should we be? Are we kidding ourselves?
I don't think so. No, I mean I think we're not talking like Kyle Walker scenarios here. He's not turned 31 yet. He's still 30, and I think people dismiss the injuries, the pre-season, the fitness stuff, and all that. But like how many times do we talk about what absolute finely tuned racing cars these players are? And it will take a lot of time to get back into his peak condition. I mean, he was also playing with an element of what everyone else seems to be playing with today, which is that kind of, as we've used the word complacency a number of times, there was an element of that to his game.
He's the last person you'd expect that from, though, Paul.
True, but I think the physical dimension is the key with him. I mean, the thing I would say is, for someone like him who's just an absolute warrior, maybe over the last 10 years, only Sadio more of a warrior than Robbo, I would say, that we've had playing for us. Just his mentality is such that even as his body declines, and I just to state clearly, I'm not convinced that his body is declining. I think this is an issue to do with his injuries and his pre-season.
And too much bread. Too much bread and chocolate
much sugar,
bars. That's what Mo will tell you anyway.
Too many hot chocolates at the King Mo's Cafe. But I just think even when he's starting to feel it, he will rage against the dying of the light, unlike most other players. I think he's got years left. I think if we're looking at I hear people talking about we need a left back, and I wouldn't disagree with that. But for me, for all that, I think I really like Costas. I think he's a great player. He's a really, really good backup left back. I'd be looking at a young player to come in as the understudy now. I just don't. For Robbo, what he offers you in terms of his nous, in terms of his intelligence, in terms of his leadership, and his brilliance as well. He's a great footballer. I just think he's got. I wouldn't want to be bumping Robbo out the way. I think we just leaped to some conclusions a little bit too soon. Dan. I mean, Dan used the word finished. I don't know if you were to ask Dan again now, he wouldn't use that phrase in the chat. That was in the chat during the game, and I'm sure he doesn't mean it. That's just hyperbole in the moment.
Oh, he's Scottish. The old anti-Naomi gag there.
For me, like I think it's that. It's just about it's a fitness thing. It's a rhythm thing. It's all of that. And yeah, he wasn't great today. But yeah, no, I'm not worried. What did you think on the penalty? Did you think how culpable did you think he was on the penalty?
It was not good.
He is culpable. He's given it away, so he's culpable.
To what extent, though, mate? In terms
literally, he's culpable. He take him down outside the area if you want, but he
backs off into the box.
Yeah, I know it's like millimetres, but still on you. You still brought him down. So if you're going to bring him down a yard further forward, like it is on you essentially.
Any complaints about the actual? I know it's a foul, but any complaints about it being a penalty?
It's hard to argue, isn't it? I didn't think it was, but it's hard to argue. What do you think, Stu?
Well, the line is the area. So if your foot's on the line, there's always the question of like, well, is it which contact are you saying is is for the pen. Do you know what I mean? Which point of touching what? I don't know. I'd have to look into that because, like, obviously, it's not. It's not Robertson's foot that hits the shins, man.
Isn't it? Like
so it's like I don't. But again, we say sometimes to our lads when we're coaching, it's like, don't leave it to the referee. Then it's on you. If you've given the referee a chance to give the penalty, that's on you. Do it a yard further forward if you're going to take. And he's clearly like, all right, he's trying to win the ball, but it's clear him out. But do it a yard further forward then.
Oliver didn't know, did he, really, on VAR? I don't think. Oliver, it went on for a while.
I don't think you can overturn it. I don't think you can say
enough.
I've got a theory on that as well, on Oliver today, because he was the one, he got called out by Howard Webb over him getting involved in the United penalty at the end of the game at West Ham.
Right.
And everyone was like, what the fuck is he doing? Sticking his nose in there, making it about him. And he's got form for doing stuff like this. And today, he's just gone with what the referee's given.
He's
not overruled it. Now,
on the red card, you'd think at least go and have a look at the monitor.
Yeah, but he's not. He's just he's stayed out of it. And I wonder if it's like, even if there was something really egregious, I think because of his fucking ego, I could see him just sitting there with his hands up in the air going, no, don't be asking me to get involved. You don't want me getting involved in these decisions. I could well see him taking that attitude.
Like a petulant response, Dave?
I could absolutely see that. So he's not really got involved in any of those decisions. And I'm not even saying he should. It's not like the red card one for me. Yeah, you can give that as a red card. I feel like it's an orange card. It wouldn't have been well harsh if he'd got a red. You could give it. I'm okay with it not being given. And that may well be what Roy Keane said, where it's like they've looked at who the player was and gone, oh, he's not that type of player, and give him the benefit of the doubt. Whereas I probably, if that was someone who I know has like gone in to do him, that type of player, I'd probably feel differently. But I was okay with that not being a red card. Their penalty, I've got no complaints about it at all. Micro-analysing it and saying, oh, that looks like it might be an inch this side of the line. You don't know, you can't tell. You know, there's no conclusive like proof whether he's caught him just on the line, just in front of the line. There's none of those angles that we've seen were conclusive, and it's not the VAR's job to get involved on stuff unless it is like a clear overturn, and it wasn't. So if the referee had to give a free kick on the edge of the box, I still think that Oliver would have just gone, yeah, that's fine. I can't prove it either way, and I don't want to get involved because he's got a titty lip over Webb calling him out. So yeah, no problems at all. My issue with the penalty was if you're pointing at the referee and the VAR and complaining, oh, that's not a penalty. No, you're missing the point. Like, the penalty comes about because of Virgil playing silly beggars and Robbo not taking him out well away from the edge of the box when there was the opportunity to do that. He's backed off to the edge of the box and then he's made his tackle. So it's completely on us. It's self-inflicted, and I'm not pointing a finger at the officials at all for that.
Yeah, I think with Robbo as well.
About it.
When you were saying before with Rob, I'd be if he hadn't have put a couple of decent performances in. I thought, was it last week? He was pretty decent. Looked like he was back to that sort of aggressive front foot Robbo.
Villa,
Villa. That made me think, oh, it's okay. It might just be a bad game. You know, that gave me the confidence that he's not, physically he's not struggling, because he was like full of energy, full of running right to the last minute. So yeah, it could just be that. I mean, of all the players as well, I don't think Robbo was dreadful today.
No,
I think there's there's bigger problems. Kanate was worse. I honestly think like we'll give him a bit of leeway because young lad, but I thought Bradley was quite poor as well for some of the stuff that went on when they were countering. I thought his positioning was awful sometimes. But yeah, I think like Robbo was just off it. Just
that second half one though,
6 out of 10 or something.
When he just completely switched off and was stood still and left loads of space.
He made the wrong decision. You could see what he thought. As the player's winding up to pass it, he thinks the ball's getting fired in to feet. So he's sprinting towards the forward as the ball goes in behind, and the forward sets off to go behind him. So yeah, it was just, it can happen, but that's more of a poor decision. He just decided to jump at completely the wrong time.
Are you worried about him, Dave?
Not really, but I it's in the back of my mind. Are we just in denial here? Are we kidding ourselves? Because Brownie brought it up the other week, didn't he? And he was like, keep an eye on it. And he's saying keep an eye on it, and each week we are seeing stuff that's making you go, ooh.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd like him to retire from Scotland, or but
I don't think that's
any
there's
player
no
who
way
goes
he's
the wrong
doing
side of 30.
He's the captain, and
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. And the chance to play with Ben Doak as well. You're not gonna turn that down.
I'm not worried.
I think there's an element that you can still start putting in place what you would do, how you replace him.
It's the Bournemouth lad.
We need to. We need to be doing something.
I think there's an argument that he might be the type of character that you give a reduced contract to, and you have him, as in like he would be not a bad backup. If someone's going to be good enough to, rather than buy a kid, maybe you buy someone who's ready to go in right now, ready to compete with him right now, and he probably isn't a bad backup if he'd be happy to do that role, and because he'll still like Paul's saying, he's a competitor, so he'd still be pushing whoever you sign. He'd still be pushing
fight,
them.
wouldn't he?
Yeah, so that's fine. So if you get like another 2 years of great Robbo, that's brilliant. If this other lad that you buy, if he's good enough to go in, if that pushes him on, you get the you hopefully get the Diaz Gakpo thing, don't you?
I think I used the word kid before, and I didn't actually mean a kid. Getting somebody else in, I meant like
someone younger.
A 23, 24-year-old. I didn't, because if we're having a kid, we've got kids on our books. We can do that. No, it's a 23, 24-year-old, somebody who's coming in ready to play. That peak sort of age that we look at for signing players to come in to be ready for the first team. That's who I think I'd go for. And if I'm going to move anyone on, I'm moving Costas on. That's no knock on Costas, but I just think you can't just sweep away that mentality, that experience, and that quality that Robbo has. You just can't just suddenly decide that that's surplus to requirements. That's part of your winning DNA. The great teams who continue to be successful over time get those sorts of decisions right, don't they? They know who to retain, how long to retain them for, and they balance out what they offer on the pitch along with what they offer in the dressing room and around the training ground. And who was it? I can't remember whether it's Stu or Dave who talked about him being a new Milner. I could see him. I could see that role for him. I could see him being that character who sets the standard, who keeps everyone on the toes, who's pecking heads in training, who's calling people out in terms of the standards. I could see that being a role for some years to go yet, and still be able to come into the team. The only difference is, I suppose, is that Milner was so incredibly versatile. Yeah. And Robbo is a left back. But I think you have to be really sure that he's finished before you throw away a player of that quality at the age of 30. In fact, you don't. I think it's crazy.
So we have been linked with a few left backs, even this week. They're saying the names have been around for a while, but this week, all three of them we were linked with. There's like the lad at Fulham, Aït-Nouri, and the Bournemouth lad. Aït-Nouri to me is just not a left back. I don't know what he is. He's a really good footballer.
He's not a defender.
He is not a left back. People
Dan
talk
loves him,
about
doesn't
Trent.
he? Dan really likes him.
Oh yeah, he might like him now, but if we signed him and he was playing left back, I'm telling you now. People talk about like Trent not being sure about Trent's defending. You put Aït-Nouri on the other side, and Trent's gonna look like fucking, prime fucking.
Never mind inverted. He goes and plays as a 10.
Yeah, he does.
Trent looked like Carrot at right back.
And Robinson at Fulham, not having him either. Really like him, good player, but I don't think.
How old is he, Dave? Is he very
young? He's
young?
about 27, and I don't think there's. I don't think there's anyone in the league other than Kyle Walker who relies more on pace than him. That's
we're not
his thing.
signing a 27-year-old, are we?
Yeah, so not having him. Although I do like him, I think he's a really good player. But no, I wouldn't be doing that. It's the Bournemouth lad. He's the one who I think
Who's
we're going for. Kirkes. Richard Hughes signed him, didn't he? He signed him for Bournemouth. So I think that's the obvious one. But
is he the right profile age-wise?
Yeah, he's 21.
Is he 21?
He plays for Hungary with Dom. Yeah,
we're playing first team football in the Premier League.
And he does look the part. Both ends of the pitch, he does look good. But it's tricky for me because if you sign a left back, someone's got to go. And for me, it's like, well, it's definitely not Robbo, But if I had to let Costas go, I'd be doing it with a fucking really, really heavy heart.
Yeah.
It's not something I want to see happen. Yeah. And I think, like, because I'm definitely, like, I'm more attached to players these days than I ever was. And I find that weird.
No shit,
just like,
we
I'm
fucking
older.
read you talking about Darwin every fucking day in the chat.
Forget Darwin, not even that. Like, you know, I can't really make a case for Joe Gomez being in the team, and he's like third choice right back, third choice left back. He's probably ahead of Quansah at the moment, but not so long ago he wasn't. So he was number 4 in terms of centre backs. I would have been absolutely devastated about selling Joe Gomez, and if it was up to me, I would not have even contemplated doing it. I wouldn't.
I'd have seen me arse if we told him.
And I'll give you another example. Endo. I really like Endo. I'm like, I don't want to see Endo going, you know. And people are just, you know, you see fans that are going, yeah, get rid of him, and then we'll go and buy him. And I'm like, oh, no, these are not just.
I'm kind of with
you. They're like, you know, these are like people that we actually like. You know, I've got so much time for them.
And I've given great things to the club, and are deserving of a little bit of loyalty in return. I agree with you on that. I think with people are too keen.
I think
to just
we're too far the other way though, Paul. We're more like Klopp. And
maybe. I mean, I suppose
that was a failing of Klopp, really, in some ways.
I was going to draw a distinction there with what you said in terms of, like, I like all the players that you name then, but for me, the one I would, of the ones we've just named there, Robbo, Costas, Endo, I really like all three of them, and I think they've all offered us something brilliant. Robbo's a legend. The other two are good, loyal squad players who've done a good job for us. I wouldn't lose sleep over Costas or Endo going, even though I really like them both. I think they're great.
Costas looks like he loses quite a lot of sleep.
He does, yeah. Robbo going will be another thing entirely. I think, and that has pissed me off. People are just kind of like, it's just too casual. It's just too casual the way people talk about Robbo's finished. And I'm not just referring to Dan's throwaway comment in the chat today. That's not a reference to that. I've heard other people say, "Get rid, he's finished, he's done." Fuck off. Sorry, no. You don't make a decision like that as flippantly as that about a player of that stature. I think probably all three of us are of a similar mind about the importance of character and intelligence in play and leadership in players, as much as the physical, the technical, the tactical, all of that. And I just think Robbo's the complete package. Robbo's got the lot, and that is the sort that when you are a complete package, your shelf life extends way beyond what most people think you're capable of.
And every class needs a clown as well.
He's a competitor. True.
That's like, true. I'm not saying that's a reason for keeping him, but it's another tick in the box. Every class has got to have a clown, and we've got the two of them. They're both left backs. Kirkers is going to come in and he'll be like Mr. fucking serious, Mr. like straight laced, and the rest of the players are going to be like, fucking hell, it's dull in here now, isn't it?
You can subscribe to the Liverpool Way podcast on all the major platforms, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon or Podbean. Just search for the Liverpool Way, leave us a review and hit subscribe to automatically receive all new episodes. You can also head to liverpoolway.co.uk and grab a TLW season ticket for just £3 a month. There's tons of exclusive content, including match reports from every Liverpool game, weekly Premier League roundups, the TLW diary and access to the members-only forum. Lastly, you can follow us on social media at The Liverpool Way on Twitter and at The Liverpool Way TLW on Instagram and Facebook.
I think what you're saying there about the character, Paul, I think there's definitely a lot of truth to that. I think you've got to remember, though, that Robbo has been, maybe top 3 left-backs, if not the best at any time during his time here, top 3 in Europe or top 5 in Europe or whatever. To play for Liverpool, like, we have to have a player in every position, in theory, that is that good. That's what we should be looking at. So, and I think Costas is never going to be that, is he? I think we all agree Costas is never going to be that. So there is that element where if Andy Robertson's physicality does drop off in the next couple of years, is the mentality maybe just gets him over the edge where he can still compete. He probably then stops being that guy who's going to be top 3, 4, 5 in Europe. So we need to be picking someone up who can do that job. You know,
Agreed.
I like Costas. I've got a real soft spot for all the boys over the last few years that have done bits. I always feel like
you don't. Keita.
Yeah, listen, you don't.
He
You
was
don't
in
win
bits. He didn't do bits.
Yeah, but you don't win.
He was in bits.
Naby, Shaq, Origi, Minamino, like all these lads, that do 10 games, do 15 games. That's why I think that's why you get to hold the shiny thing up at the end of the year, and that's definitely why you get 90 odd points, 100 points. You don't get to those levels without when the boys come in, the standards stay the same. So, and I think they can got a lot of respect for those lads that have done that job down the years. But if you've got to move Costas, people have to move on. You have to refresh it. It probably would be for me Costas, and then you get someone in who could genuinely compete with Robbo. And I fucking love Endo, but if he's not going to be right for what we want to do, and it sounds like he's not, it sounds like we want someone who's going to be better in the build. I even said it, defended Endo more than anyone when he came in because I really like him. If he's not going to be the right man, and it feels like Morton might be the right man a bit more than Endo, you've got to move him on. You've got to make a space. Yeah. You've got to say thanks for your efforts. Really respect what you did, even though it was only 15 games a season or 20 games a season or whatever. Cheers for getting us to this point. If we win the league this year, he gets a medal. He looks at that medal. He deserves that medal, and that's whether you've played 38 games or you've played 10. That medal means that you've contributed. You've carried the thing. But yeah, I think probably it won't be January, will it? But come the summer, if there's a couple, it might. I think left back is looking like one now where we need to at least have options, don't we? Was it Shankly said let the legs go on someone else's time? I get that. I think the club will know more than we do where Robbo is physically, and I would trust that he'll have the. I would trust he'll always have that stamina. It's just whether he's got that explosive pace. Obviously, we're all watching Kyle Walker's legs fall off in real time. Yeah, you just got to be concerned a little bit about that. Like we've been saying with the older lads with Salah and Virtue, do they get contracts? I think they both look in great physical shape, so you're not so worried. With Robertson, I think you would have
to. It's the bread, isn't he?
You'd have to weigh it up. He doesn't love a bit of bread.
It's the bread.
And the hot chocolates.
Mo knows. Yeah. But I think I agree with everything you said there, Stuart, and it's completely right. And the people making the decisions, that's how they need to think. My point is that if it was me, I couldn't do it. I'm too attached to them. I couldn't make those decisions, even though I know it's right. I'm not disputing anything that you said. I'm just saying I can't take the emotion out of it. I'm too attached to these players. It's like, yeah, I couldn't be the one to say, right, get rid of him. If it happens, it happens, and I'm okay with it. Do you know what I mean? But I couldn't do it myself.
Someone will have to tell you Costas has gone to live on a farm.
If you're struggling over those two, Dave, how are you going to feel in the summer when it's Darwin's team?
That's not going to happen.
I think it might.
I'm totally not prepared to be entertaining that thought. So let's move on.
I'm not saying it to wind you up. I do think it's a thing. 3 seasons. I think his time might be up this summer.
Right, let's move on.
Where are we up to on the game? I think we're up to the first goal, aren't we? Second goal.
So we've done both goals. Let's see, go through my notes because I'm a pro. We've got Canate,
we haven't done the Red Arrows corner, have we?
No, well that's the second half, so we've not got to the second half yet. Kelleher did make a great save in the first half as well.
Remind me, what was that like?
Decent.
Got down low to his right. It looked a great save, and then they showed the replay. I'm like, it was good.
It's hit him.
Yeah.
But
he's got down.
It was just his reaction, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's got that. Yeah.
Sort of hit his arm, didn't it? It wasn't his hand. He got his arm out, saved it.
Carrick kept going on about what a great technical save it was, even when the replay was showing just hit him in the shoulder.
Yeah. On first view, it looked an amazing save, and then you see the replay. I'm like, okay, it's just good. So half time. I didn't think he was going to make any changes. It's like we're all going, take him off and he needs to come on and we need to change this. And I'm saying all that stuff as well, but I also know, like, he's not going to do it. And my dad said to me, like, well, what would you do here? And I went, well, I wouldn't actually do anything. I wouldn't make any changes, even though there's like 4 or 5 you could quite easily hook. I wouldn't do it. But equally, me team talk, I don't think it needed a a tactical team talk saying, right, we just need to do this in these areas and this. No, I think it just needed like the fucking flamethrower to them. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You had that game completely in hand and you just got sloppy and, you know, complacent. You started doing stupid things you shouldn't be doing. Fucking knock that off and go out and win the game again. Because, like, you had the game won. I know it's only 1-0, but it felt like, okay, this is going to go on, like, 2-3 now, comfortable win. And then all of a sudden you've got to go out and win the game again. So that's what I would have expected the half-time thing to be. Wouldn't be tactical, it would have been more so stop being dickheads, just go and fucking do the job.
Do you know what's interesting on that, Dave, is I remember you said that, I think, in the group chat, and I was thinking about it, and I wonder, I think it's remarkable, really, the credibility that he clearly has with the players already after such a short space of time. Just on its own terms, never mind following Klopp. But I wonder to what extent that's embedded now. I wonder to what extent he's able to, and I'm not an advocate of ripping players to shreds all the time. In terms of leadership, I think it's
not individuals.
It's not.
It would have been a collective thing. I wouldn't have dug out individuals.
In terms of leadership, I don't think it's an effective strategy. I think you're dealing with adults, you're dealing with professionals, and I think, you know, if you're ever going to do that, it needs to be it's got to be very, very judiciously used, and it's got to be done not emotionally but strategically. You've got to think, this is the right thing to do now for this reason, and I'm going to rant, but I'm pressing the rant button. I haven't actually lost it,
and I felt like that was the time for that.
What I find fascinating is to what extent he will, and he's talked about being direct with the players, and he's happy to be critical of the players. To what extent would he call out Virgil? To what extent would he say... And, he's not going to... With someone like Virgil, you're a fool if you start screaming in his face. That's not what I'm talking about. You're not going to do that to a Virgil. I don't think... He's probably not going to do that to anybody, I would hope, in this day and age. But certainly, to what extent is he going to turn around and say, Virg, that's a poor decision. That's not like you. Why are you doing that? We get this team mentally back in the groove. You set the standards. You're the one who communicates in word and deed our collective demeanour towards this game, our approach towards this game, and you, in that back heel, that sloppy back heel, told everyone that this is, not that important, that we're not that focused. That's not acceptable. I wonder to what extent he's able to do that at this stage.
You'd like to think he
I would imagine he probably is.
You think Virgil would be self-aware enough to know that himself, but...
But sometimes those messages are for the other players as well, aren't they? So you say it to Virgil, you say it to your captain, and really it's not for the captain. And then maybe you pull him afterwards and you say, that wasn't really for you. I know that you're professional to do that. I wanted Conor Bradley to hear it. I wanted Queeve to hear it. I wanted, whoever. I'm just intrigued. I mean, we'll never know. It's completely unknowable. But I just think it's fascinating that to really kind of start to imagine the dynamics of those conversations and what they look like in an elite dressing room at the highest level with a guy who's new and coming in and punching well above expectations. I'm thinking really in terms of how much credibility he's got in the bank already. You'd imagine looking at the league table, he's got a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's an element as well where you never know with these documentaries when you see bits of Arsenal, you see bits of City when they release the documentaries, because who knows what goes on, what clips they don't want people to see and stuff like that. There is a bit of ranting. I've seen clips of City when they're doing poorly and the players can barely understand what Guardiola's shouting at them. There's no way on earth they can understand what he's saying.
Bit performative, that, I think, don't you?
It is a lot of it. Yeah, a lot of it is performative, and so it's all about, I remember when I was reading Klopp's book, there was a lot about integrity and honesty and having those big, looking people in the eyes and having those big boy conversations where you're like, is this good enough, or you're not good enough and you've got to leave, or things like that. And I do feel like maybe that's what's happened at half time, where you would think it isn't necessarily ranting and raving, but it's like, what are the standards here? Does anyone in this room think that's good enough? Those sort of conversations where you'd hope that there are enough leaders. There's enough leaders that lift the standard, especially maybe on a day where there was a lot of low par performances. Really, I think, like we said before, there was only a few of the lads that were doing the jobs that you would expect them to do. I think what Maz was, we were chatting before about who played well and who didn't. I think it's worth. He's had a bit of criticism recently. I thought Dom was superb.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I would have picked him as man of the match. I just feel like on a day when other people were below their level, to win a league at the right time, you need certain people to stand up, who might not have been man of the match for the last few weeks, but just at the right time, felt like where the intensity wasn't quite there, where the sharpness wasn't quite there. I felt like the other two midfielders were a bit slow. I thought Curtis was bad for it. He was, when we were talking about that sort of slowness and intensity and strutting around a little bit, Curtis was doing that a little bit more. Wasn't playing it forward. Wasn't playing it quickly.
Smelling his own farts.
A little bit like coasting and picking your moment of when you're going to pass it rather than getting it and popping it. Which I think if he plays against City, he'll be sharper. He'll move it quicker. I just felt like Dom he won it back more than anyone. More key passes, shots on goal, shots on target. Turns up with the goal. Ran himself into the ground even to the last 10 minutes, where he's just. It's just to stop them putting the ball forward. He's like, I'll do one, I'll do the next one, I'll do the next one. And I think there's a lot to be said. I know that we talk about the quality and where is that. We were talking about the physical numbers the other week. That Hungary's Billy Big Bollocks is willing to just subjugate himself to the team and do all the graft and not complain about it. I think that's really encouraging for us. I think for the future. So I think it speaks to character a little bit, where sometimes a lad who takes all the free kicks and takes all the set pieces and whizzes them in from 25 yards, there aren't many of them knocking around that would then go, oh, you just want me to do all the graft? That's fine, I'll just do all the graft. So I think it does speak.
Gini did it, didn't he?
Yeah, it speaks to character. I think it speaks to leadership that he popped up today and decided.
Do you know,
to
Stu? I agree with everything you just said about him there, and the points you're making about his character and like how he, subjugating himself for the team. Totally agree. My only problem with Dom, and I do have a problem with it because it's ultimately it's not quality. It's a mentality thing, maybe a concentration thing, not character, but self-confidence maybe at this level, is that he has had too many opportunities where you'd expect him to score and he hasn't, and that for me is deficient. I mean, and maybe you could argue at this level it's fine if he's running himself into the ground. He's just that affects his shooting because he's absolutely put the miles in, and therefore he hasn't quite got the power or the accuracy or the control when the shot comes. But I am at the point now where I'm kind of splitting hairs a little bit, because I just think overall he's having a really good season, and I think it's really clear what he's given the team. I just think at the level that we're talking, when you clearly have got a player who really can deliver in front of goal, when he hasn't delivered and he's had good chances, that's frustrating. But I suppose what I would say is that I think his time will come, because I don't see how you can have that level of quality and continue to be in those situations and it doesn't. Because that was a really good finish today, and I think when you've seen that, you've seen what he does for Hungary, I think more will come.
Yeah, and I think I said it. I might have said it on the pod, or I said it midweek or something. He feels to me like him and Nunes are the two I look at and think, if either one of those has a purple patch for 8 weeks, then hand us the league title. If one of those two really fires for 2 months, then given that at the moment, like we're not even. Sometimes you'd look at the points that we're on and you'd think, oh well, they must be massively overperforming their XG, or they must be getting quite lucky. We're not, we're pretty much par for chances to goals, and goals that we're giving up to chances we're giving up. We're pretty much where we should be. We're level, and we're where we are. Like, without getting too much ahead of ourselves, I looked and there's only Newcastle have not won the league from this position once. Everybody else who's been in this position at this stage of the season.
What position, mate? Specifically, what are you talking the number of points?
Points wise, after 12 games, there's only Newcastle have had this many points and not won the league. So that's the position we're in, and I think we still have players that are playing a lot of minutes that haven't even got where they could get to. Dom, attacking wise, I think he's been superb defensively. He's got more output attacking wise to give us. And, if Darwin clicks at some point, I don't think he's going to do it for 6 months. I don't think he's going to suddenly become player of the season. We don't necessarily need that. I mean, we'll get into it. He was poor today, but if he just clicks at the right time, I think you only need 6 to 8 weeks of real good purple patch performance from him. I just think we're doing this without our goalkeeper. We're doing this without Alisson. There's years that we can still, if not get better. There's every belief that we can continue this level. Do you know what I mean? Jota's got to come back at some point.
Do you know on Darwin? I do want to come on to that, Dave. Sorry, and Stu's just said something that's sort of prompted me to pick up from where he's left off there. I like, as you know, I like Darwin, and I think he's got the complete package, technically as well, and I just think it's in his head. I would, for me, if Darwin was a flat track bully, brilliant. That's what I'd take that straight away. I'd take that with both, with open arms. If he could be a flat track bully for us, and he just scores against the shite,
like Haaland, you mean?
Yeah, but what I find frustrating is that I'm not even seeing that from him at the moment, and I just think he's just still 2.5 years in nearly. He's still too much in his own head. I just think, I don't know, if it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because he could be, if Stu listed a load of players before who made big contributions to big trophies for us. He's twice the player of virtually anyone Stu named. And I just think, what is the barrier? You come on against the bottom team, and it's not even like he had a half full of chances today. It's not even that. So I can't point to a specific moment and say,
he didn't have any.
You fucked up there. Yeah, you fucked up there. You fucked up there.
He did, but he passed it to Diaz, didn't he?
Yeah,
which is fine.
Which was the right thing to do.
That ultimately is that's my frustration with him, because I think he's not going to be what people were speculating early days that he could be. We spent all this money on him, and he'd had that 30-goal season for his previous club. We all know he's not going to be that. Well, maybe all of us bar one know he's not going to be that. But
I don't think the team is set up for that anyway.
No, maybe, yeah, fair. That is fair.
Need to be that. We don't need him to be that.
Absolutely. But I just what I find frustrating is do it against the shite. And I'm aware that I'm saying that as someone who advocates it's relative shite. I think the quality of the league is unsurpassed in terms of the history of top flight English football. It's we say it every week, don't we? There's top quality players in every team that you look at, every squad. They're all well coached, but there are still certain teams where elite players at the elite clubs should be able to turn it on and take a moment and score, and that's what I want from him. If I can get that, brilliant. And what worries me is that we're not getting that. And I don't really understand why, other than psychologically, I think there's a barrier there for him. I think it's become a thing in his head.
Just on today, though, I think it's also worth mentioning he would not have started today if Jota had been fit. The only reason he started today was because we didn't really have anyone else, because Diaz was being rested, because the South Americans coming back from the international break. It's a thing now. We all know it. Coming back, South American players coming back, McAllister being the obvious one, where you're like, mate, don't start him at the weekend. Yeah, you just don't do it, because we've seen it. The commentators
are talking about it now, aren't they? As well.
But so the other two,
narrative in football.
The other two are left out today, rightly so. But Darwin's had to play, and he's not had a great game. And I thought the other two were good when they came on. But if they'd have started, I don't think they'd have been good from the start either. So I think that needs to be mentioned. I'm not saying it's an excuse or anything, but I didn't think he was terrible. I just thought he was quiet and just not really involved much. But it's been like that a lot this season. And then there's other games where it's like, okay, there it is. That's like the Núñez where he's firing off shots and he's involved in everything. But mostly it's been like this, where he's running around a lot and not really getting involved much, not getting much of the ball. But today was an off day for the team as well. I wouldn't be reading anything into that, but we've got two big games coming up this week. I'm far more interested in how he does in those two games than what happened today on an off day for the team coming off an international break. But we need to see something in the next couple. And he may not even start both, because I think that we will see some rotation. You may well have... we may see Diaz at centre forward in midweek. We'll get onto that in a bit, like what we do for Madrid and that. But I do think we will see some changes made, a little bit of rotation going on. But Let's get back to the second half goals. So they get the goal from our corner. Stu, you mentioned it before, so you can talk us through that, what you thought about it, what the problem was.
Number one, I think I'd have to watch it again. I don't know, does the goalkeeper release it or does he drop it? Because in commentary they said, the goalkeeper's released that quickly.
He throws it out, Stu.
Yeah.
If he has, then fair dues to him, given that people are giving him shit for releasing early in the first half. If he's done that, he's set them off on a break where I imagine the commentators who couldn't stop moaning about it would have said just lie on the ball and kill some time and whatever. So if he's released that early, he's set that counter off, fair enough. Like, he was dreadful today, but give him some credit if he's done that. I think the ball goes out, and I think Szoboszlai does the work to get over there and to turn the guy backwards. So that's it. You've slowed it. Konate gets back in. Bradley gets back in. I mean, Bradley runs over to a situation where
I think, Rob, we have three players back in there. There's three of them.
Szoboszlai's already sorted it. You don't need to go over. There's a massive gap. Then everyone comes over again to where the ball goes. Then everyone comes over again to where the ball goes, rather than getting themselves in a good shape. It was proper schoolboy defending for me. I thought it was a really poor reaction to a counter attack, and as I said before, again, we don't want to be like, we're not shitting on what's gone before. It did feel a bit more wild and a bit more like last season, where there wasn't control over the match, and you were like, how are we giving these a chance to get at us? And that happened obviously a little bit more last season than it has done this season. And I think we've all been quite happy with the fact that it has happened less this season. It's felt more controlled. It feels like the opposition can't get a sniff off us. That just felt a bit wilder than it needed to be. A little bit less controlled. Do you know what? I didn't think it was that outrageous. Apart from what I was really frustrated by, is the lack of awareness of the switch. Into that big space, and I wanted to see midfield. I wanted to see players coming back, and we didn't really see that. That was my frustration. It was the fact that they just weren't mentally reacting to, they've been turned around and now we need to get back. I mean, I think ultimately they just red arrows us. I think they did us at our own game, and I suppose what I find frustrating is that we weren't open to the possibility that could happen. That was my frustration. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Stu, about the individuals that you mentioned. Yeah, I can't argue with anything you've said there, really. But my overwhelming frustration there was just that it's just a lack of mental sharpness, really, and to respond once that situation's underway. Yeah, it
was like cats chasing a torch. When you shine it on the wall and then you flick it over to the other wall and the cat runs. That's what it was like, because three of them ran over to Armstrong, and then the lad Fernandez runs through the middle all on his own, because all three of them have just been attracted to Armstrong, and then he plays the pass. I haven't really got an opinion on it one way or another, but Queeve just stood still watching that go in, and I don't know.
We had a look at it before, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell whether he's unsighted. He certainly I haven't. You mentioned you've seen the one from behind, Dave, and I haven't seen.
He's on his heels. He's on his back foot, and
Conor Bradley slides in, and it looks like it goes under Bradley, and he's slightly unsighted, but it also looks like he's maybe wrong-footed.
Yeah, I don't know if he could have done.
Isn't he?
It's not on him at all, but I don't know if he maybe could have done better or not. I've not really got an opinion on it, to be honest.
I suppose the only thing you'd say is I would, unless I see evidence to the contrary, I'd definitely give him the benefits of the doubt, given how brilliant he's been this season.
No, in terms of what went wrong on that goal, he's not high on the list, that's for sure.
I think the good thing is, today, it feels like today's an outlier. We have just not been giving up good chances to people most of the season, have we? Or we've been limiting it. So it is, as I say, in hindsight, it is nice to have this bit of a warning, bit of a wake up call, sharpen everyone up a bit, especially just going into City and going into Real Madrid. Feels like it's in a perfect world. This is what you want, isn't it? Bit of a kick up the arse, bit of a fucking shake them. Yeah, it's not.
I'm also quite glad the games are that way round as well. I'm pleased that it's Madrid in the Champions League. We're in a strong, largely, maybe unassailable is too strong, but we're in a quite pretty unassailable position in the Champions League. We're looking very strong favourites to to qualify automatically. And Madrid are not having a shit season, but Madrid are not quite having the season that their fans would want them to have. We looked at their tape, the La Liga
got
table
injuries
before,
as well.
actually, they have. We looked at the La Liga table earlier, and it looks decent, like as far as they're concerned. But in just the point you're making, Stu, about we have a wake-up call today, then we play Madrid, then we play City. That feels like the right order that I want those games to be in. I think the stakes are probably highest next Sunday, and this is kind of like a build-up to that. Regardless of the relative form of City, which I'm sure we'll talk about, that for me is the biggest game this week, which is not to dismiss Wednesday. I think Wednesday's big, and we fucking owe those pricks. But I think, if today's the wake-up call, that's the right order for those games to come in.
There's no pressure on Wednesday. Wednesday's a game we can just enjoy.
Absolutely,
it's just go out there. It's a free swing. Just go out there, enjoy yourselves. Hopefully, turn Madrid over. The game where the pressure is the City game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But we'll get to that in a minute. On your point, Stu, about the wake up call thing, I do feel like you always, even no matter how good you are and how great a season you have, you always have 2, 3, 4 games like that today. And if you get through that game without dropping points, it's massive. Because you will have those performances where you're like, fucking hell, that was not good today. So many mistakes and could have cost us. And so we've conceded 2 goals there, 2 stupid goals that we've given away. More often than not, you feel like that will probably cost you points, but it didn't. So again, saying we got out of jail's too strong a term for it. It's not really that. But it is something where you look back and go, well, these are the games. You throw in some stinkers throughout the season. And if you can get through those without dropping points, you're going to be in really good shape at the end of it. So we had the Forest game. We couldn't turn that one around. We've dropped points there. But our other bad performances, we've still got the results. And, that's what you've got to do, because you're not going to play well every week. No team plays well every week. Even when we were at our absolute best. And we had that run where, what did we get? How many points did we get over a 38-game stretch over 2 seasons?
110 out of 100.
Something mental. But even then, there will have been some stinkers in there where we've just got the points and you don't remember them. Those games are you see the score, you don't remember the performance. So that's what today is, really. It's and it's easy for me to say that now because we won. As I say, if we'd have dropped points today, it would have took me a long time to get over it. I'd have been absolutely fucking fuming about it because of the opportunity that's there after what's gone on over the weekend with City dropping more points. Also the fact that Arsenal won, you don't want them clawing it back. You want to maintain the cushion. Chelsea as well, to some extent. I don't think we can totally dismiss them. So you want to keep that cushion. And it's different if you lose away. Say if it was, we've got Newcastle away coming up, and I feel like that's a really potentially difficult game for us. If that goes wrong and you drop points, you kind of go, that's football, that's normal, that's going to happen from time to time. But you could not have dropped points against the 20th placed Southampton. You just couldn't have done it. That would have been unforgivable. So
and
thankfully, we didn't, exactly, because Mo pops up with 2 more goals. So the first goal, the goalkeeper again, it's it's really bad. But all I'd say on that, right, is if the goalkeeper doesn't come out and make it easy for Mo like that, could we say that Mo wouldn't have just brought that ball down and scored anyway? I don't think you can say categorically he wouldn't have done. There's every chance that he would have brought it down and scored, because we've seen him do it loads of times.
Yeah.
So,
we've seen him blast it into the stand as well.
Yeah, well, it could have done, because he did one of them a bit later, didn't he?
But let's also not take anything away from that fucking brilliant first time volley.
No, it's outstanding.
Sensational.
Because he's seen the keeper coming out.
Yeah. Sharp thinking, great technique. And his movement, he timed his run absolutely fucking brilliantly, and it was a great ball over from Gravenberg as well. And I thought it was a really good goal.
And he meant it. He clearly meant it, because when have you ever seen Mo take a touch that bad if he was trying to control it? Do you know what I mean?
No,
when Mo controls it, he kills it. He sees the keeper coming and he's knocked it past him. Now, possibly he was trying to knock it past him to run through and score, but he didn't need to do that because it's gone in anyway. But I just think that was great awareness from him, and great technique, and just fucking comical from the goalkeeper. Absolutely comical stuff.
We've seen him have bad touches before, so just to be clear on that, we have
All
seen
right,
him.
You're always
down.
hating. Just
All
stop
right.
with the
Calm down,
hate.
Stu. Fucking
But
hell.
I thought maybe he tried to round the keeper, but watching it again, I feel like if you watch after he kicks it, he's not off after it, if you know what I mean. He doesn't immediately put the burners on to try and get on the end
He
of
has
it.
a little moment where he thinks, "Oh, is the defender
Yeah,
going
he
to get
panics
back?"
and thinks it's not going to go
Yeah.
back. But initially, as he
Yeah.
touches it, he's not like touched it and then gone to chase it. So I think he has actually planned to do that.
Yeah.
Then worried he hasn't put quite enough on it. But yeah, again with the whole Salah thing, where it's like you can criticise him sometimes for finishing and whatever, but it's the number of chances he gets himself. He times his run right. He's not offside. You know, he makes the run, he gets in, whereas other players would time it wrong, they'd be offside, they'd stop making the run, the head would go down, and when they're in a day that isn't theirs. That's the thing with Salah, he is relentless, he is constantly, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball.
And literally breaking records and doing unprecedented things in the history of the club. I think that's the key thing, is that like he is breaking record after record after record after record, and he's so to me. Whilst any criticisms of specific moments or touches are not invalid, they're irrelevant because he just continues to deliver.
But no,
when
but
it counts.
they're not irrelevant. If I pause the game on 65 and I go, has Mo Salah had a good game? You would say no, he hasn't. And then when he gets the 2 goals, you go, right, there's Mo Salah's done his
But I
thing
suppose
again.
they're irrelevant in the
And
sense
that's
that games aren't won or lost on 65 minutes, are they? You know,
No, they're not. They're not. But all I'm saying is, performance-wise, when people are saying, you know, "Oh, Mo's played well," it doesn't necessarily always mean that Mo Salah has done well with the majority of times he's had the ball. A lot
This
of
is
the time
why
he
he's
can't-
not Egypt's greatest ever player, though, isn't he?
We have done this before, haven't we? I'm sure we've done this before.
No, Stu, you know I'm mostly with you on all of this stuff.
I know.
But just on the bad touch thing,
You're a dickhead as well.
when you
then.
said we've seen him have bad touches, we have.
Yeah.
All I would say to that is very, very, very rarely does he take a bad touch when it's a ball coming out of the air.
Yeah.
He normally just kills them stone dead. He
And
does
we
exactly what
do
he
take
wants
for
to do.
granted, and we do take for granted sometimes the times when he kills it dead, and then he does something really impressive with it. Obviously,
There was
like,
that one
it's just-
late on, and then he just got booted by that Stevens yard dog. He just
They
brought the ball down.
There was another one where he just got thrown to the floor. Again, just another one of those where we're talking about should Konate put his hand on someone's back, and Mo Salah is literally just getting grabbed by the collar and thrown to the floor.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird, some of the things that are just allowed to happen.
It's like the
to
narrative
him.
was set in that first season, isn't it? That he's a diver, and he's just not a diver for my money.
He's
but that narrative was set then, and
when
now
he goes down,
he's seen as that now.
When he goes down so badly. Like when he dives, he is bad at diving. That's the difference. Whereas other players are good at making it look like they've been fouled. When he goes down, it'll usually be he's waited a second too long and then he falls over, and he's not good at selling it. Whereas lots of professional footballers are very good at selling a penalty. Harry Kane, excellent. Sterling, excellent. Like, they get contact in the area, they make it look convincing. The thing with Salah is he never sells the foul very well. So that's why I think he got a bit of a reputation of being a diver. Because listen, every professional footballer goes down now if they get touched in the area. Like, let's fucking grow up and stop pretending that that's not a thing. They do. Someone doing a little sketch there. Oh, what's going on?
Sorry, did you hear that?
Fucking yeah. Neil Buchanan, heart attack.
Sorry, boys.
But I think you look at the numbers of how many fouls he gets compared to how many touches he has and whatever. It's just it's insane. All the numbers point to just terrible treatment from referees, and I don't know what you'd put that down to be honest.
No, it's weird.
It
is weird.
Racism. Let's just say it.
So there's a little bit, without being too funny, there is a little bit of like, if you're English, you get certain decisions.
Yeah.
If you're a foreigner, you get certain.
I mean, I laughed. And I was mostly joking,
Yeah.
but there is a bit like there's the foreign lad.
Yeah, I think I remember someone doing some research in the past where it's if you're English, if you're in the England international team, you get away with murder. Like Rooney, Gerrard used to get away with all sorts. Yeah, there's a bit of that apparently, from what it looks like in the numbers.
Yeah, and then the third goal.
Clear pen, wasn't
well, it's one of them. You immediately, everyone screams handball.
Yeah.
Everyone can see it's handball. All I'll say is you don't usually get them. In the Premier League, you don't usually get those.
The double touch, it was like arm and hand, wasn't it?
Oh, they've stopped giving those. Honestly, have a look and see how many handballs there's been this year, and I bet you there's hardly any. It's like there's some
That was so
a league-wide
obvious,
edict where it's like we're not really giving them. Whereas the Champions League's the total opposite. It's like if the ball hits you on the hand, it's a penalty, regardless of like whether it's your arms by your side or
That's
whatever.
the way it should be.
No, I think the Champions League's gone way overboard with that shit. I hate it. I'd rather not give penalties for those kind of things.
Well, this was a double hit. It hit his sort of forearm and then his hand, and it's
it hits his chest, and then it went onto him. It was like chest and then arm.
It affected the flight of the ball. And
It's how far out away from his body his arm is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I'm saying,
also, I think his face that he pulled once he did it was not helpful.
All I'm saying to you is that if you watch, more often than not, those are not given. And again, it's purely down to like the referee on the pitch gave it, so it's not going to get overturned. But if he hadn't given that, Oliver would not have called him to the screen and said that's a penalty. No chance. So it all comes down to the referee on the pitch's interpretation of it. And I know everyone's going to be saying it's handball, it's a penalty, and I'm not saying it isn't. What I'm saying is, if you watch games closely now, they do not usually give them. It's changed, especially this year. It's been phased out over a few years, but this year in particular, they're just not giving penalties for handball. You've really got to, unless like it's a referee just who's like Oliver, who's totally just acting on his own. It's like the referees have been told, don't give penalties unless it's like a deliberate handball. And that's not a deliberate handball. It's like it's a misjudgment and his arm's out and it's hit his hand. But I'm not saying it isn't a penalty. I'm saying I feel a little bit lucky that we got it, because most other days it wouldn't be given. And
I think it's a bit different. I think he's panicked a bit and put his arm out after it's hit his chest. I don't think it's the same thing.
I agree.
I still think you don't normally get them, and if you want to find examples to prove me wrong, that's fine. But every week I'm watching Match of the Day, and managers are
not
complaining.
that petty, Dave. He's not going to go and find examples.
He will. It'll be in the chat later. I'll wake up in the morning.
It's not petty, Dave.
There'll be all kinds. There'll be all kinds in the
full
chat.
Video breakdown, yeah.
But no, if you watch Match of the Day every week, and you will see managers after the game complaining that we should have had a handball and it wasn't given. So I feel a little bit fortunate that it was given, even though morally it should be a penalty. I just think a lot of the time you're not going to get it.
Good pen though, wasn't it?
Yeah. When you look at it, the keeper's almost got it, but he's just lifted it enough. It's too high for him to
35
to
was it 35 goals from penalties? Fucking outrageous.
Yeah, it was a 35 of 40
43, I think.
Yeah,
which I was actually, I know he missed a couple. I was surprised he'd missed 8. Which
didn't he have a run where he missed like 3 in a row?
3
or
on the
something
bounce,
like that?
yeah. And I think various people on the part, I think you said it, Dave, and I think a few other people agreed that like you'd take him off.
I would still have McAllister on them.
I wouldn't. I'd stick with Mo. But that's irrelevant, really. I was just surprised he missed quite that many. It made me actually think it's, some of the shouts about it. When people, I'm quite dismissive when people say, "Oh, I'm feeling wobbly about Mo taking this penalty," because I just think Mo's a guarantee of goals regardless of the context. But actually, I went, "Oh, okay, fair enough." He's missed 8 penalties. That's a lot of penalties. But equally, he scored fucking 30.
Just get off his back, Paul. Get off his back.
I had to start rank with the other great Egyptian players, though. Where does he rank in those? Is he Egypt's greatest ever penalty taker?
Oh.
Now that's where Stu will go and do some research, Dave.
Yeah.
He'll give you a list tomorrow.
No, so
listen, I'm just telling you what the Egyptians are telling me, guys. I'm just a conduit of world football for you.
that was the Which was the shirt off celebration? Was it the pen or was it the
equaliser?
equaliser?
Yeah, it was the
So
pen.
Yeah. Yeah. So gets
The
himself a yellow card.
equaliser
for
was
that.
the get the ball and run back. The pen was the
Right. Yeah.
get the abs
He
out.
feels
As it
the
should
moment,
be.
doesn't he? He feels like a bit of a moment that we've done that going into the City game. He judges it quite well sometimes, doesn't he? To have these, that's a big moment sort of celebrations.
Well, let's face it, he can't take the shirt off every time he scores, or he'd be missing about 10 games a season through suspension, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Did he get
Always
booked, by
yellow
the way? I
cards.
didn't know.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. You know what though? Do you think that we've maybe reached the point where like they need to scrap that because
It's silly.
where's the
The reason it
actual?
was introduced is dead, isn't it? It doesn't incite the fans. It doesn't like wind people up.
It's for the
It's actually
sponsors,
a
isn't it?
moment that we enjoy. We all like that. It's not even wasting time. He whips his shirt off. There's a celebration. He puts it on as he runs back. It was 15 years ago, whatever it was when it was introduced. There was maybe a point, but it's not about edginess in the crowd. It's not about time wasting. It's just like, and particularly when we've been denuded of some of the emotion of goals with VAR.
Yeah.
Why are we like, kiboshing a moment that can really galvanise the whole fan base around a game? I think it's bullshit. It should go. I don't
Isn't
know
it
what
about
purpose
sponsors? I've always thought it was.
Well, say that again, mate.
Isn't it always about sponsorship? That the sponsors, that they just generally don't want people taking this. They'd rather people have their shirt on for the sponsors for the big photos. That's what I've always thought. There was a
If it's
commercial
that,
element
though,
to
I've
it.
never heard that. It was originally about incitement, and it was about
that's what they
winding
said.
the fans
But I
up
mean,
and
no
fans
one
kicking.
believes
the-
that, do they?
It's
That's
what
not an
isn't
actual
said.
thing.
Yeah.
It's
There
not
was
an
a
actual
time when
thing,
it was
is
more that was a more credible excuse, but there's no credibility to that now.
It could be what Stu said, but they'd never publicly
No, of course
admit
it
that
wouldn't.
that's what it is. But if it is that, there's other ways where you can sort that out. Like you pay a little bit, you knock money off what you're paying the clubs every time like a player's not showing the sponsors when he scores. You knock like 10 grand off what you're paying or something. I don't know.
I just don't see how
But
football's
I don't
losing
see
when you
how
have
you
those.
can. I don't see how you can give a yellow card for that because it's not. It's not impacting. It's not the rules of the game or anything.
Surely you want those visceral emotional moments. That's what football is at its very, very best. It's goals, it's celebrations, it's, as people say these days, limbs. You know what I mean? It's all of that. It's going fucking nuts.
It's
that's
farcical.
the essence of football.
So if you think what Mo did there, he took his shirt off and he ran to the fans and he celebrated and he got a yellow card. Like ran to our fans and celebrated. You can do what Adebayor did. But if you keep your shirt on, you're okay. It's like, that's how
he got
stupid
booked
it
for that,
is.
didn't he?
Did he?
I think he did. I think he
don't
did
know.
get booked for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have any complaints. It's definitely worth it.
Well, you should be able to do what you want. A lot of the time, you've been getting shit for like 90 minutes off the fans, haven't you? I mean, there is an element of if you're going to dish it out, you have to be able to take a bit on the chin when someone scores.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I've gone past the point. I was always like, you've been told you can't do that. So if you do it, and you get a yellow card, it's on you because you know what's coming. That's how I've always looked at it. But I looked at that today and thought, this is just stupid now. What? Especially when like you've seen. So we got the same punishment as Adam Lallana. And it's like that doesn't make sense. That what are we doing here? That needs looking at. It's something that probably needs changing. But we never mentioned about Lallana going off injured. Was there anything more certain than that was going to happen? It happened when he played against us for Brighton as well. I remember away game at Brighton, and he went off injured a couple of years ago. And because if he starts a game, you automatically think, he's not going to last, and it's such a shame. He's a player like I've got a lot of time for. Loved watching him play. Thought he was just so smooth, so silky, great to watch. But his body just was always letting him down, and here we are. It's still letting him down now. I feel like if you start him, you're asking for trouble. Probably someone who's good for them to bring on for 25 minutes, half an hour maybe. But
Sorry, I missed this, Dave. Is that Lallana?
yeah, Lallana. Just not remotely surprising that he went off injured.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it, really? Such a talented player. Do you know what? I hope you don't mind me saying this, mate. Just throwing this one at you, but I thought with that, I wonder what your mum would have said when he pulled that. He pulled that yellow card foul today. She'd gone nuts, wouldn't she?
Yeah, but when he went off injured, she would have been like, you see, big surprise. Yeah, I know.
Did you ever get to the bottom of what that was about? Why did she hate him so much?
No, she just, I don't know. Sometimes people just have these irrational haters. That's like Adriana's mate and his problem with you, isn't he? Like, there's no logic to it. I mean,
well, even more illogical, he rates you. That's fucking bizarre.
Right, okay, now I've got both of yous on now, so this is the ideal time for me to tell you this. So I got to the bottom of that, and because I couldn't comprehend that. I'm like, okay, he hates Paul. I'm like, okay, fair enough, whatever, each to their own. But the idea that he thought Stu was the funniest on the pod, that really was like eating away at me. I'm like,
Makes
no,
sense to me.
I can't have that. So it was over the summer, like Adriana went to a party and I was picking her up, and she said, can we give Ben a lift home as well? I was like, yeah, no problem. So Adriana gets in the car, Ben gets in the car, and like Adriana's like totally sober, but Ben isn't. So he's desperately trying to act sober. So like I just said to him, he said something about he was making conversation about the pod, and I was like, yeah, so you don't like Paul, do you? And he was like, no, it was that time when he said, I'm on my lunch break, but I needed to come on. It was the Klopp resignation thing, wasn't it? And he didn't like the fact that I think you were a teacher and you'd come out to go on a pod. I don't know, whatever it was, it doesn't matter.
Weird.
So then I was like, yeah, but I said, what's the deal with you thinking Stu being your favourite, and what's going on there? And direct quote, this is what he said. He went, I don't know. He's just funny, isn't he? I think it's the name, Stu Montagu. And I'm like, so I was like, okay, so he's not really the best judge of like...
That is a hate crime you're reporting.
He's not really a judge of like comedic talent, is he? He just, your name rhymes and that makes him laugh. So
you can't pick your audience, can you? You can't pick your audience.
But it made sense. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it now. He's just a dickhead. He doesn't know any better. So I was completely fine with it then. It's like, oh, his opinion doesn't mean anything. That's okay. You be you, Ben. You be you. So yeah, that's the story there. So
you can't pick your fans, can you? You know what I mean? You can't pick your fans.
All right, let's. What should we do now? Should we Madrid, or do you want to talk about the situation at the top of the league and what happened with City and stuff?
Let's do top of the league, because I want to just say a little bit about them, if that's all right, Dave.
Yeah.
And then we can come on to Madrid. They're in a proper crisis. Let's not fucking pretend otherwise. I think there's a real reticence for people to come out and say that they're in a mess and that they're in crisis, but they really are. Those players look shot. This is not about Rodri. This is not about Guardiola's contract. This is not about 115 charges or whatever. There's problems there. That's a squad that like should have started. This looks a little bit to me. Remains to be seen whether I'm right or not, because I think we need a greater body of evidence than what we've seen so far. And obviously it's relative. But this looks a little bit to me like what happened when the wheels came off our midfield.
It's a Toby Carvery situation, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think you said on Blue Sky about Kyle Walker towing the caravan. I mean, yes, but it's not just Kyle Walker. You look across. I mean, Gundogan, why have they brought him back? Fucking hell! I mean, he's got the brain, he's got the technique, but he hasn't got the legs, and it looks like he's not arsed. Phil Foden, he's dropped. Robo cunt, he's just not scoring, and he's not getting the chances. It just there's a whole. For me, there's all kinds of things in the mix there, and they are not right.
De Bruyne's legs have gone as well.
Definitely.
He was so off it when he came on.
He's nearly 35 now, De Bruyne as well. I looked at the profile of players. They've got loads of those players are 30, over 30. Even players you think, I think it's Ake.
You think Ake's younger, he's not.
Ake's 30.
Yeah.
There's all these players who are kind of like age-wise, he's not. Meanwhile, he's selling Cole Palmer, and he's got he sold Rory Delap
as well.
All of these players that
That's
you think they could be the future, and he's moved them all on. I mean, I do think there's an issue there, and I also think 8 points, potentially 11 next week. I mean, that's absolutely huge. My only reticence, and it's not even logical really. Well, it's not logical based on everything I've just said. It's definitely not logical, but I need to make the points anyway.
It's boogeyman syndrome, isn't it?
Yeah, it defies belief that that next Sunday they would potentially lose in a minimum their 6th out of 7 games, and if they lose in the week,
they're playing Feyenoord. They're not going to lose that.
No, exactly. But let's say they do.
That's good.
It just defies belief they're going to lose.
Got that game.
I just can't get my head around the fact that they lose 6 out of 7 games. But that's the only...
Yeah, but you wouldn't have said they'd lose 5 out of 5 either, so...
No, absolutely.
I wouldn't look at it like that. If they were to get beat against Feyenoord, I'd be with you then. I'd be thinking, there's no way they're going to lose 7 on the bounce. So I'm glad they've got Feyenoord, because if they win or draw, that stops the run, and then all bets are off then. It's like, okay.
But the problems are you with me, boys? The problems are serious and real.
Yeah.
This is not like a little blip. This is a proper thing that we're seeing.
They always
now.
drop points this time of year, but it's normally
not that.
1 or 2
that,
games, and yet this is not that. Even the games that they've won, I mean, Fulham fucking battered them at the Etihad. Somehow they won that game, but say somehow, it was Adama Traore missing
the way they're getting done on the break. They're getting absolutely rinsed on the break.
But that's because Rodri covered up so many sins. You know, they haven't had the legs, and they've never been... Even when we've played them, they've never been a powerful team. Really, they've always controlled with the ball. I think the fact that Kyle Walker is losing his legs means that you can get in behind them a bit easier. You can get past them a bit easier. But Rodri, I mean, it is pretty funny Real Madrid not turning up to the Ballon d'Or. Because look at City's form. Look at Rodri. That is genuinely how important he is. I don't think it is just because of Rodri, but he can cover up so many other people's sins.
Yeah.
You've also got Haaland is miles down on his chances. I think he's chances to goals. He's about 6 or 7 goals down on where he should be this year.
2 and 7 in the last 7 games.
Yeah, they are. Sorry, I think it's over the last 6, 7, 8 games or whatever over this run, he's miles down on where he should be on converting chances, which is, that's how it works. Form over the season, you go up, you go down. But they looked so leggy against Spurs, and credit to Postecoglou if he meant to do it. Maddison kept dropping out of midfield. Rico Lewis had to go really high up the pitch to go and engage with Maddison.
Maddison dropped very deep, didn't he?
And
that
then
had to be a plan.
Maddison would play out of the press, and they were fucked, because they were you had the 2 Spurs lads were just running all over Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva's a scrapper. You can still see he's got the fight in him, but the legs just aren't there. So I think everyone's reticent to say they're done, because they've just, in the past, they've always been able to do 10-game runs or 14-game runs. But the thing for me is it reminds me a little bit of, not necessarily the season where we went, but the season where we ended up playing Henderson and Fabinho at centre-back, where because you're low on legs and people are coming back injured, you're putting people in too early, and then someone else is missing, and then so someone who's not quite fit has got to do another game. And
well, Stones came in and went out again, didn't he? Stones,
there's a lot of that going on.
He went off the pitch injured yesterday.
So it's Gundogan, you've got to go again. Silva, you've got to go again. Rico Lewis is every single fucking game he's playing at the moment.
Ake's not fit apparently, and he played.
No, and they're just, so it is that idea if it starts to snowball, where you're already struggling, you're already low on legs, and you've got to go again.
Keeps a small squad, doesn't he?
And you've got to go everywhere, especially during this period where it's every 3 days, every 4 days or whatever, you've got to go again and again and again, and it snowballs and snowballs, and then you can't get from under it. Well, you were saying before, Paul, I would prefer the Real Madrid to have come after the City game, just so we can focus entirely on City, and then whatever happens with Real Madrid happens. Because I think that, I know a lot of people will be wanting us to go really strong against Real Madrid. I don't see any way that the Real Madrid game isn't a 90-minute game. I don't see a position where we can get 2 up and then we just control it. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a full 90 minutes. So I just feel like I'd rather that running was on the Wednesday afterwards rather than the Wednesday before.
I mean, that does make sense. But I suppose what I would say is I think these are the moments that define great teams, and these are the moments that develop great teams as well. And I think if this has been a season of anything, it's a season about meeting challenges, answering questions. We keep doing things that people don't expect us to do, and I think, just refer us back to that league table, 8 points clear. It does make sense what you just said, then, Stu. But I think,
listen, winning both makes such a statement. If you win both, then it's real strutting.
Listen, I can't be bullish about it, but it doesn't look an outrageous shout.
That's an incredible position to be in. If you beat Real Madrid, put them in trouble in the Champions League, then you go 11 points clear in the league. Like, especially given, as Dave says, there are. It was important to win today because there is a trip to Newcastle. There is the derby. You know, there are tricky games coming up where you can see that you could drop some points, or like that game against Newcastle is going to be a physical challenge. You know what I mean?
And it's coming off the back of
Joel Linton smashing into every cunt. You know what I mean? It's like,
but you win these two,
grind.
and is
that a Tuesday night? Is that the Tuesday after the City game, or was it Wednesday?
I'm not sure.
I'll have a quick look. I've got them on the calendar. I'll have a look now.
I know it's midweek, isn't it? And it's right in the thick of like this run of games, and that's the one that jumped out
it's the
at
Wednesday.
me.
It's the Wednesday.
So would you
game.
rotate? What would you do for Wednesday then? Let's get.
And then we've got the derby on the Saturday at 12:30.
For Madrid, you mean?
Yeah. What are you thinking? How strong are you going against Madrid?
I'm going strong.
I'm going strong. I also think there's an element of we tend to play better when we are playing twice a week. You know, I know it in theory it's supposed to work better when you've got a week to prepare and stuff, but it's a small
for us,
but it's a small sample size with Slot. We don't really know that, but in the past, whenever we've thought, we've got a whole week to prepare, it's not worked out like that. We're better when we're playing midweek than weekend. Midweek, we get in a rhythm and we play better. But it's too early with Slot to really know whether we get like a benefit of him having like a full week to prepare. Not sure.
Yeah. Are we dropping, stroke resting, stroke kicking up the arse anyone on Wednesday? That's the decision, isn't it? Does Konate drop out for one and then come back, bit of a kick up the arse for City, or does Robbo? I mean, you definitely change the midfielder. Macca's definitely got a play, hasn't he?
Yeah, I would
probably.
I would you see, Konate's the interesting one because I know he's been much better this year with the injuries. You still always think, twice a week, should we do that? Should we rest him? If they think he's fit enough to do it and it's not going to be a problem, because it's Vinicius Junior, I would play Konate.
Yeah,
but
there's also
from the pace point of view, you mean, Dave?
Yeah, I just think like it's important. That's where the danger is, like that side of the pitch, you know. So I would play him, but you can make a strong argument.
It's probably not great to go into the City game with the narrative of Konate's been dropped. Is he gonna perform against City? You probably want to avoid that.
What I would do then, like for Wednesday, I would play Joe Gomez right back against Vinicius, and then I'd bring Conor Bradley back in for City.
Where's Trent could be back for City though, maybe.
I don't know. It's the fact he's not in training. If he's in training on Monday and he's got the week, then yeah, he may well be involved. But my gut feeling is that it might come too soon for him. Yeah, hamstring injuries. You have to be careful, don't you? So.
And honestly, you're 8 points clear. Why would you take the risk? For the rest of the season, there is that element of going. You have the luxury of going, we're 8 points clear, don't injure him for the rest of the year.
Would you think about bringing Harvey in against Real Madrid? Or do you think it's too soon?
From the start, you mean? No, I think he's got to come off the bench, hasn't he?
I would definitely be getting him minutes. Also, just to rest other players as well, to get them off. I
think he comes on for Dom on 60 minutes or something.
I think we need to get him back involved as soon as possible, because with the games coming up, we're going to need him to be able to start some games.
A little bit disappointed. Unless I completely missed it, he didn't come on today, did he? The last couple of minutes.
No.
A little bit disappointed that didn't happen. I'd have liked him to have even just a nominal, after the 90, comes on for the last 5. There's 8 minutes of added time. Get Harvey on for the last 5 of them.
If Dom doesn't start against Real Madrid, I'll be all right with that. If we get Szoboszlai with a full tank for City, I'd be quite happy with that.
I mean, to be fair, I think he's earned the rest if he doesn't start, because he looked shattered at the end tonight.
Given that that's their weakness, I just feel like he could run all over them. If he has a good game.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So, all right then.
Team
Stu,
for Wednesday.
Stu, give us your team.
Yeah, I think you probably. I think I'd probably rotate a bit more than you would. I think I'd probably have.
Well, Costas, but is Costas going to be fit? That's because he wasn't involved today, was he? See,
it was just a knock, though, wasn't it? It was a knock in training.
I think Costas would have started today, and we would have kept Robbo for those games. But his hand was forced. There's no Costas, so Robbo played today. Because there was rumours that Robbo picked up a bit of a knock when he was with Scotland.
Right.
Nothing serious, but like he was supposed to be carrying something like when he come back from that. So if Costas is fit, you play him against Madrid, right?
Possibly, I think so.
Is Mbappe playing on the right for them? Or is he through the middle? How do they set up?
I think everyone's playing on the right for them, aren't they? Aren't they all congregating in the same area, and that's a problem for them? They're all drifting over to the same area of the pitch, apparently. Vinicius and Mbappe both want to drift over to the same side. So yeah, that probably does mean you do want Konate out there. How much do you rotate in midfield?
So what's your back four, Stu? What's your back four?
I think probably you go Verge, Konate. I could definitely have. I could go Joe Gomez, although it's a good game to give Bradley the game. It's a big game. He's not played a lot of football. It probably isn't the end of the world if he plays a lot. You know, he plays a couple of Wednesday, Saturday.
Got the energy to go up against Vinicius, hasn't
he? He's going to be sat on the bench a lot when Trent comes back in, isn't he? So there is that. If I was going to do that, do I then put Joe Gomez in centre back to give him a game?
Or left back even? If Costas isn't fit.
Interesting. You could do left back. It's hard to know without the physical data where someone stands up and if someone says to you, listen, these lads can both do, they could do 60 and 60 or they could do 90 and 60. It's hard to know where they are physically. I think McAllister definitely starts. So I think I'd probably go Gravenberch, McAllister, Curtis, probably. Sobersley 30 off the bench.
Yeah.
Because I don't mind if it's a bit of a boring, nothing happens, keep the ball, it's a draw, shake hands, or they've got to come and beat us. If they think they've got to come and beat us and we hit them on the counter, I think I'd be tempted to play Nunes because I feel like there's more, they'll have to leave space. And so it's not a bad game for Nunes.
I thought he looked like he tweaked something today though. You know, when he made that run like late on and Dom should have played him in, but he went left instead. Darwin kind of pulled up and then he was subbed more or less straight away after that. I'm not sure if he's tweaked something. So maybe something to keep an eye on there. Hopefully not, like.
I think I'd probably go Diaz, Nunes, Salah if they're all fit. Gakpo 30 off the bench with a view to Nunes probably being the one that doesn't play against City.
So would you be putting in the middle Diaz?
Yeah, I'd go Diaz, Gakpo and Salah against City.
Oh, I've totally forgot to mention this, but did you just get onto the fact that Carrick kept talking about every time Dom goes away with Hungary, he's scoring free kicks? I'm like, has he fell for the whole like Twitter scam thing where like people are posting the same free kick every time? I go, Soboslai just scored this free kick for Hungary. Every international break, that's getting like it's just a big joke now. Like loads of people are doing it. I'm like, has Carrick fell for that? I think he must have done because he scored a pen this time, didn't he? He didn't score a free kick. He scored a Panenka pen like in the 98th minute or something against Germany. But,
if it was a joke, it was very dry. It was a very straight joke if he was doing it. All right, okay.
He didn't. It was more than once. I'm like, he's fallen for that. Like,
he's definitely bitten. Yeah.
Yeah. He's been scrolling and he's just seen that and thought, oh, he scored another one.
In terms of 11, I'd obviously Queeve. I'd go Bradley. Agree with what Stu said really about Konate, Verge, and I think I'd definitely go Costas. Midfield again, agree. Maka, Grav and Curtis, and then up front. What did you say, Stu? Up front?
I would say Diaz is going to start, isn't he? So because he was on the bench today, so Diaz will start. Mo Salah will start because Mo Salah will want to start against Real Madrid. So then you go in. I'd go Nunes because I think there'll be more space. If they've got to come and win, remember, we don't have to win that game. They've got to come and win.
Right.
So we can play a bit more counter-attacking. We can play a little bit more controlling, sit in, and then we can hit the boys on the break. So it'd be Gakpo misses out, and then Gakpo probably comes back in for City for me.
So so this is where we differ. So I'd hold Darwin back for City. Because I think City in transition and City on the break are just a fucking shambles.
I agree.
And so I'd go Cody left, Mo right. I just think Mo plays every fucking game, to be honest, if he's fit. And I'd go Diaz through the middle, and I'd then bring Darwin back for City because I just think City look absolutely fucking shambolic on the break, and I think we will turn them around. Because they will just because their mentality is such, the psychology of them coming to Anfield is they will not be prepared. Also off the back of the run of results that they've had, they will want to come and play. He's not going to come and play a very circumspect game, I don't think. I think he's going to want to come and try and be bullish and try and assert City. And I think he's going to want to try and dominate the ball, get into our half, play it around, and I think we can turn them around, hit them on the break, and I think Darwin can... I hesitate to say fill his boots. I don't think he's there form-wise or mentality-wise to fill his boots, but I think Darwin can hurt them on the break. So I would have Darwin held back for Sunday. So I'd go Diaz through the middle, Cody left, Mo right.
I agree with that, and I'd be looking to get Harvey on for Mo if the situation was...
For Mo, interesting.
Just
okay.
Depending on how the game goes. So like if we did get a lead, I'd probably be after like 65, 70. I'd be looking to do that.
I like Harvey. I like the idea of Harvey. We've not really seen it yet because of his injury. His injury's been so long. I like the idea of Harvey in this sort of that sort of hybrid midfield.
No, so do
attack thing. That kind of like the 10 gets into a 4. The 4-2-4 where Harvey gets in there. Is ostensibly a midfielder, but really he supports the centre forward. I'd love to see Harvey playing in and around the centre forward and pressing. I
totally agree, Paul. Really it's just we haven't got options to rest Mo because
right, okay, fair.
I don't really like Harvey playing
with no Chiesa. Like it's kind of like forces the situation.
It's more.
I don't see where Harvey fits in. I'll be honest. I'm looking at it. With the way we play at the moment, I think it gives him a problem.
You don't think he can do the Dom thing? I know he can't do that.
We're playing.
He can't cover the ground that Dom covers.
No,
but
I don't think he's got the...
He can give us a different approximation.
He'll get us goals. He'll get goals and he'll get assists. It depends on the opponent.
Without the ball, I don't know.
I think he can do what Curtis does. He can't do what Dom does, but no one can do what Dom does. Because Dom's much more mobile than everybody else. I think Harvey can give us what Curtis gives us in that role.
And Harvey, we saw last season, is an absolutely fantastic tempo changer. Coming off the bench and just lifting everything. Just he does things quick. Like he'll get the ball and he'll immediately play a quick little pass that just gets everyone moving quicker. So that's where I think he fits in as definitely as a really good sub.
Takes it under pressure brilliantly as well.
The criticisms that we have of Dom, like all those situations he finds himself in and the end product's not there with like the final pass or the shot or whatever. Well, that's the thing that Harvey's got. He hasn't got like the physicality and the legs that Dom's got, but as I say, it's horses for courses. If the right opponent where you don't necessarily need Dom's running power and you need a bit more guile and craft around the box, that's where like I think Harvey will really come into his own.
I think for Harvey to be part of the team long term, if we carry on playing the way we do, I think he's going to have to become excellent at the ball not coming past him. So pressing on the front foot where he then doesn't have to turn and make the 50 metres up to get back in. I think for him to fit in that pressing system, I think he's going to really have to work on, and that's fine.
He's got the brain for that, Stu, don't you think?
I think he's got that already.
He's decent. He's decent without being. I think he's good because he's usually coming on, so he's usually pressing against people who've been playing for an hour. Yeah. So he looks sharp, and that gives him that extra yard where he's successful when he comes off the bench. When he starts, he's a yard short a lot of the time. I think he doesn't quite get there, whereas when he comes off the bench, he does get there. But I think the pressing is something that you can learn without being incredibly fast. Again, without wanting to bore the shit out of people. Naby was never fast, and he was good front foot pressing. So you can do that. It's just I think he's going to have to, because I don't see how he can press in that 4 and then get back in.
I just think Harvey's clever. I think it's easy to focus on his technique because he's got really obviously great technique. But I think he's clever, and I think he's a bit of. And the reason he was a prodigy was not really about his technique; it was about his mentality. It was about his
Stephen Hawking's clever. I don't want him pressing.
Harvey Elliott plays like Stephen Hawking.
Maybe like you can stop going on about my Joe Gomez Titus Bramble thing now. You can.
I know, yeah.
That's way more.
Monty's just fucking beating up Harvey even more than he beats up Mo. That's outrageous.
Macca's as well, isn't he? Macca's super clever footballer. Yeah. You just don't want him. You don't want him high up the pitch and having to.
But his brain stops him. His brain stops himself, and his experience stop him getting exposed. And what I'm saying is, I think Harvey's got the capacity to do that.
I don't think it does stop him getting exposed. I think he does get exposed, and he has to give away yellow cards.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to have him deeper. We can't have him. We can't have him high.
Fair. But I would say a yellow card is, when we're talking about being exposed.
Yeah.
That to me is part of being clever. You take the yellow card rather than give away the chance.
I'll tell you what
I
else.
like Harvey a lot. I like him a lot. I'm struggling a little bit to see where he fits in with us. That's all I'm saying. I like him a lot. I love the kid, and he'll be a great player somewhere in some system. I just don't know how he quite fits with us, because I don't see him as a deeper player. I don't quite see him as
I agree with that. He's not.
I don't quite see him as a doing a sub-Osley job, and I don't see him as a forward. So, although he is a great player, and I think we can underestimate how fucking good he is for his age as well, I don't quite see where he fits. But
I think maybe he probably is a Macca. He's maybe a Macca.
But this is the problem now. And it's only just occurred to me then when Stu brought Macca up. It's like, if you're playing both of them, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, but you're not, maybe, are you? That's the thing.
But if you had if you're playing Harvey as like the 10, then you maybe have to move Dom or have somebody else in like the 8 rather than Macca. Because if you've got like the two of them, Ryan Gravenberg's going to be doing a fucking hell of a lot of running, isn't he?
Better have his breakfast.
Yeah. Depends who you're playing, obviously, but fair point.
Yeah. All right, we'll do predictions then. I'm sitting on the fence with Madrid. I've got absolutely no idea whatsoever what's going to happen, but I am predicting.
I just want to say, Dave, and I know you've rowed back from this. We fucking owe those fucking pricks. And
I've not rowed back from that at all. That's exactly how I feel.
You've rowed back from expressing it.
I've gone back from the point of like calling for them, saying I want Madrid. I've learnt my lesson there, but we've got Madrid now. There's nothing they can do about it. Yeah. And I'm not one for saying not really that bothered. No, I desperately want to beat them. What I said before about, it's not like the City game's the one where that's where the pressure is. This is not really pressure, because if we did lose, it's not really affecting us that much. It's not going to do a great deal of damage. But if you win, it's massively satisfying.
Yeah.
Not just because you got your 100% record maintained in the Champions League group, but also because you're sticking it to them bastards. Yeah. So I'm desperate to beat them. Yeah. But I don't know how it's going to go, because I don't know what changes we'll make.
I think it's going to be quite a very different game to today, but I think the scoreline's going to be the same. Liverpool 3-2.
Okay.
I think they're going to score, and we're going to score a couple, and I think we're going to have moments where it's going to feel hairy, but I also think we're going to put on a bit of a show at the other end as well, I think. Yeah, 3-2 Liverpool.
Stu?
I think I'd probably go 2-2 maybe, and it won't be like Paul's saying, it won't be a controlled game. I think it might be a bit mad, it might be a bit end to end.
I think the atmosphere will play into that, don't you?
Yeah, I'm definitely putting Endo on with 5 to go to put someone in the fucking main stand, maybe Mbappe. See if we can pull his fucking shoulder out.
This is what you call
him. Yeah. Never mind Mbappe, Bellingham.
Never mind coming on and taking a yellow Endo. Come on and put someone in the fucking stand. Proper James Milner stuff. I think probably 2-2. I think it'll be a bit wild without knowing what team we're going to put out, because I just feel like, are we really 70 minutes? Are we still going to be blood and thunder in it, or with the City game in mind, or are we going to shake hands on a draw and try and control it?
I think the atmosphere will be such that the players won't have a choice. I think the stadium will demand it. I think it's going to be. That's why I think it'll be a bit blood and thunder, because I think the fans will just infect everyone on that pitch, and I think it'll go. I think it's got potential to really go off. I think it could be a big one.
See, I don't know what's going to happen, but I would say more likely a 0-0 damp squib than what you're saying. You think will happen?
Why, Dave? Why'd you say that?
I just feel like it could end up just being like a bit of a nothing game. I know the crowd's going to be up for it, but like the crowd, if we've seen some games at Anfield where if we're just like not really forcing the issue, the crowd's not going to be a factor, because the crowd's just going to get the enthusiasm sucked out of them. Yeah. I don't think there's going to be fireworks on Wednesday. I think the fireworks is going to be Sunday. But like I say, I have no idea.
I suppose one thing to say is the stakes for us on Wednesday are not that high.
Not compared to them,
Do
definitely.
you know what, though,
Exactly.
to be fair, they don't... maybe we're overselling the stakes for them a little bit, because it's 8 games, isn't it? So we've played 4, they've won 2, lost 2. It isn't the end of the world. If they were to come to Anfield and take a point, they probably wouldn't think that was the end of the world.
But if they come and lose, though, it puts them up against it a bit.
Well, it doesn't, does it? It means that they're probably going to have to play a last 16 game. Is that the end of the world for them?
Not necessarily. They're only just in those qualification spots. Let's see who have they got to play.
Well, Villa are in the qualification spots and they've got 9 points. Real Madrid are on 6. It's one win, isn't it?
So,
it's just, you know.
All right, still have 9 points to play for.
Okay, so they play us. Then they've got Atalanta away, which is tough.
Tricky, yeah.
Then they've got Pep Blinders at home.
Which is 3 points.
Win.
Yeah, and then they're away at Brest, who've actually been really good.
But that's still 3 points.
But I wouldn't say that's definitely 3 points the way they've been playing.
If you offered them a point, I think they'd take a point now. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, point at Anfield isn't the worst thing in the world, is it?
No, I don't think it ever is for anybody, is it? Unless it's an all or nothing game. But I just think they won't be able to play that. I don't think they'll be able to play that way. I think the atmosphere will pull it away from them. We'll see.
Hopefully,
we'll see.
I hope it is a great game, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a letdown.
I'm just more thinking, what does the last half an hour look like in whatever game state? And I could see a situation where they went, draw's not too bad. I was looking at it, I thought they were in a bit more of a tricky situation, whereas if you're talking 8 games, I think they've got plenty of time to recover. I think if you're looking at like PSG, who are on 4 and they're like down in the area where you don't even go through, then I think there's a bit more pressure on you. But I don't know. I could see, now looking at it, I could see a situation where 70 minutes in, people are shaking hands on a draw. We'll see.
Maybe. What about you, Dave? What are you saying? Are you going 0-0?
I don't feel strongly about it at all. I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a disappointing game and 0-0, but I don't know. I don't know what to expect because I don't know what we're going to do in terms of team selection. So it's hard to get a feel for that. Whereas I've got a good feel for Sunday's game because I feel like I know what we're going to do. I know what City are going to try and do, and I think that we'll have too much for them. Like I think we'll run all over them. The Real Madrid game, I don't know because we don't know how many changes we're going to make, or it's hard to call. So, and you know, I'm the way things have gone. I'm not saying like that. I don't care about the Real Madrid game because I do. I want to beat them because I fucking hate them. But it's like all I'm thinking of is I can't. It's City. It's the City game on Sunday. I've just got that in my head, and like this is almost like inconvenience is probably too strong a word for it. But it's like no, I just get this out the way, and then I want to look forward to the City game because I think 8 points City could like turn things around and they could pull that back because we've had plenty of performances this season where it could have gone wrong. I know it hasn't, and it's great that it hasn't, and credit to the players for getting over the line and stuff, but there's been enough performances where if you were Man City or Arsenal or whatever, you'd look at it and go, okay, well, they don't look infallible. I could see them dropping points. So 8 points, City would not be thinking that's insurmountable, but if it gets to double figures, I almost feel like we could just discount City then. If we get to 11 points ahead of City...
Well, if 11 points, you discount... if you're discounting City, you're discounting everyone.
No.
It's 4 games. It's 5 games, really, to turn it around, isn't it?
Yeah, but we wouldn't be 11 points ahead of Arsenal if we win next week, or Chelsea.
Oh, fair. Yeah, well,
City haven't chased well.
So we're not going 11 points clear, we're just going 11 points clear of City if we beat them.
What's the gap to Arsenal? So Arsenal
9,
are 9 behind us. So that could remain 9.
But Arsenal have got a really soft run of
Chelsea
games.
the same.
Their next 8
Brighton
to 10 games, I think. Arsenal's next 8 to 10 games, I think, are like really soft. I expect them to go on a run, and if we do slip up once or twice, that gap's going to be like cut down significantly. So
West Ham away next game.
Yeah, they're like.
I mean, with our goal difference,
that's
that's still a 4-game turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, a 9-point gap with our goal difference. It's 4 match difference really. They need to outperform us. They need to win 4 where we don't.
We could do with United, with this new manager at United, sorting things out and sharpening them up a little bit, because I think Arsenal and City have both got them in December, haven't they?
Yeah.
So we could do with him making those big games competitive rather.
And that's kind of how a new manager makes sort of earns his Spurs a little bit, isn't it? In the one-offs, you don't do it over the course of the season. You have your blips, you know, like against Ipswich in your first game, and you drop a couple of points, you get a draw, but you know that's how you show you're on the right track, by you get the players to raise the game against the better sides.
If he can beat City with Sporting, he can beat them with United, can't he? That's what I'd probably think.
Yeah.
Listen, if he takes points off one of them, that'll be fine.
I mean, it just feels like a great week, doesn't it? And we've had the right start to it today.
Just about.
Yeah.
Okay, we done? Anything else we need to cover?
That's it.
Or we done?
No, I
We've
think
been
we're
going
done.
for like 2 hours now. So.
Yeah.
All right then. So we'll be back after the Madrid game. Maybe the night or possibly the next morning, but ideally try to get it done that night. So I think Chris will be hosting that one, hopefully. So yeah, we'll be back after Madrid. So until then, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you soon.